Welcome to Tables and Tangerines, the magazine. We are now doing the show. So, for those of you that subscribe to the magazine, here's the show. We just want to inform you about some of the people that we've interviewed and bring them live to you so that you can see them front and center and hear a little bit more about their story and get a little more background about who they are. So, today I have an awesome guest. We have Jas Boothe here, and I could go through a litany of what she's accomplished, but I just want you to get to know who she is. So I'm going to bring her on and she's going to tell us in her own words who she is. So Jas Boothe, come on to Tables and Tangerines.
Hi, Patricia. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so glad to have you. Thank you for spending time with me on this day. And look, I see you touching your tangerine. So I see you popping with the color. Thank you.
I did that for you, sis. I did that for
Thank you.
you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, I am excited about you because I know just a glimpse, just a little bit about some of the things that you've done, and we're going to find out a little bit more. And I know sharing, your story can be a lot. So we're going to break it down. I know that you are a filmmaker, you're a speaker, you're a wife, a mother, a disabled Army veteran, a cancer survivor, and so much more, an author. I mean, there's so much more. And I'm just excited about the things that you have done, but also about what God has in store for you to come forward doing. So let's just talk about who Jas Boothe is, the woman, the wife, the mother, all these different things. I mean, that's a lot to juggle, and I can relate to some of it, but I want to hear from you.
Well, I definitely want to thank you for allowing me on your platform and giving the opportunity to tell my story. And the reason I tell my story is so hopefully it can, touch someone else. Someone else may be inspired, or someone else may just need to know that they're not alone.
Mhm.
Um, I got into public speaking to tell my story because I tell people the strongest tool you have in your arsenal is your voice. And so I always encourage people to use it, regardless of who you are. Um, but who am I? Yes, I am a wife. I'm married to a Marine combat veteran. I was in the Army for 17 years myself. I'm also a mom. My oldest son serves in the Air Force. He's currently deployed. And I also have a 10-year-old who I'm homeschooling.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
that's probably harder than the Army.
Trust
Um,
me. Yeah, I homeschooled my oldest son, so I understand.
yeah, and so I currently run a nonprofit organization called Final Salute Inc., which provides safe and suitable housing to homeless women, veterans, and their children. And as I was telling you earlier, while we were, backstage, that I always focus on the lessons that life has given me as opposed to the trauma. I don't focus on the hurtful parts. I focus on what I learned from it. And I will tell you that everything that I consider a trial and tribulation has led me to my purpose and allowed me to help many, many people who have been in my situation, and in some instances prevent them from being in the situation that I was in. And that situation was being homeless
Mm.
as a soldier. So
Okay.
in 2005, I had got orders that I would be deploying to Iraq. I was currently living in the New Orleans area. I had just got stationed in the Naval Support Activity when those orders came down. So I got my son situated with my aunt in Missouri, and I started training for deployment. But I never made it to Iraq because of two significant events. The first event being Hurricane Katrina. I
Mm.
lost everything to Hurricane Katrina, but my focus was on taking these young men and women in and out of a combat zone safely and making sure that they were properly trained and they had all the tools and knowledge and skills they needed, to get back to their families.
Right.
Um, and I, as a mother, understood how important that was. And so I put the loss of Hurricane Katrina on the back burner. And then I got a head, neck, and throat cancer diagnosis
Wow.
about 30 days after that. So um, a lot of people like me, I felt, I was a soldier, I was strong, I was a warrior, and I was in control of my life. And when cancer hit me, um, that was one of the times that I felt helpless because I felt that I wasn't in control. I allowed my disease to be in control. And that's
Mm.
how some people can get into, a pit of despair and, feeling sorry for themselves as opposed to, okay, I'm going to fight this. I'm in control of my body and thinking positive. But I didn't know how to do that at the time. I didn't have tools to do it at the time. I didn't have mentorship at the time. It was pretty much, just me and my son. And so I basically put my life in the hands of doctors. And I understand that, when you're looking at medical type situations, that the doctors have to do what they need to do, but also you have to do what you need to do for yourself,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
well. Your body can tell if you're thinking positive. Your body can tell if you're smiling,
Right.
because people don't realize like the mind and body, even the mind and skin connection. Like I can look at you and see like you are really interested and in tune to what I'm saying just from looking at your face. But you can also
Mhm.
tell, you can look at people's face and tell if they're sick,
Yeah.
if they're worried, if they're in pain, and
Mhm.
so during I realized that during my therapy, because I was like really um short with people, and they had nothing to do with what I was going through, but I was just rude and short. And then one day I was sitting in the lobby and I saw soldiers being wheeled in who had lost limbs, soldiers who had been burned unrecognizably. And then I
Mhm.
went to the mirror and I said, you know what, you have all your limbs, you can
Mm.
still look at yourself and recognize yourself, and it's like, you know what, you could be in so much worse shape.
Yeah.
Appreciate the cancer.
Yeah. Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I did, and it wasn't the fact that I was happy because I had cancer. I didn't know what my outcome was going to be, but it's like, you know what? At least I know what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Those people don't know the long road ahead. They have of them with having to learn how to walk again, how to live with
Mhm.
being, severely disfigured in service for the country. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, your day of complaining, it stops today.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because I think we as a people, just people in general, because we're human beings, we always focus on um, again what we lost or what we
Right.
can no longer do, as
Right.
opposed to what we still have and what we can do
Hmm.
with that. And so you know what,
Absolutely.
even though I was going through head, neck, and throat
Right.
radiation, and it was painful to go through it, I could
Hmm.
still smile. It was a crooked smile, but I could still
But it's a
smile.
smile. How about
you
that?
know, I could still
Right.
laugh. I could still call and talk to people on the phone. I could still have some joy. I could still drive myself around. And so I focus on the things that I could do.
Hmm.
Um, I got through the situation, and years later, I was watching the Oprah show, and she had a show about homeless women veterans. And I had always thought that, I ended up homeless because, you know, we were a nation at war and Hurricane Katrina had happened. And so I just slipped through the cracks. It was so much other major things going on, but it come to find out that homelessness among women veterans was a problem, and no one, not even the government at that point, had even decided to look at homeless women veterans as a part of the population they needed support. And
Hmm.
so, instead of me, getting upset about it, I, thought about what I went through, and I said, you know what, you were prepared for this moment.
Hmm.
This
Yeah.
is now your next mission. And so
Yeah.
that's when I dove in and created this organization called Final Salute. And we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year.
Congratulations. Wow. This is a lot to unpack. So I want to back up a little bit. No, no, I want to get back. I want to back up a little bit because
Mhm,
um, so much is going in there. So you were homeless. You
mhm.
survived. You survived a hurricane. You survived homelessness. You survived cancer, and parenting. We already know what the challenges there. And,
Yeah.
I actually have a 9-year-old who'll be 10 next month, and so
Oh,
I understand. Yeah, yeah. So I understand. And then I mentioned earlier homeschooling. I know what that's like. That's a challenge in itself. I know, but I just want to ask you, backing up. So before you got even into the military, what were you like as a child? I mean, is this something that you wanted to go into? And then that'll also bring up. I know you have a book out about the Princess and the Pedophile. So I won't go too much in detail with that. But I just want to ask about: did you always want to go into the military?
um, as a child, well, I was born and raised in the project Chicago.
Okay.
And so, I didn't know what a world outside the projects looked like, but I
Mm,
knew that I was destined, for something greater than just what I was able to see.
mhm,
I knew that there was something, beyond those, 30, 40-story buildings, and I wanted to know what that was. My aunt, who took care of my son while I was sick, she was married to a military man. So some
okay.
summers I would go to visit her, um, and I would see the soldiers marching and running and doing PT, and it always fascinated me, but I never
Mhm,
thought about joining the military. until after college. And so um, I went to college on a basketball scholarship. And I always tell people, you got to find your hustle. Um,
Hmm.
I didn't know that. Well, I knew that my parents, you know, coming from a minority family, we were always pressing education. You need to go to college and get an
Yes,
education. I'm like, okay, where's
yes,
my college fund at? Then your
right.
parents were like,
Crickets,
I
crickets.
don't know where you gonna get that money. Yeah,
Right, right,
so
right, right.
so in high school, I started playing basketball and getting really good at it because I knew that I would have to pay for my own education. And my
Mhm.
grandmother she's no longer with us. My mom's mom would always, tell me like you need to graduate college because I would have been the first of her grandkids that did so.
Oh,
And
wow.
she held on long enough for me to graduate, and then she passed shortly after. But I knew that she was, proud of me.
Mhm.
And I went to college to work in television and radio broadcasting because, like I told you, I know there was a big world out there, and I wanted to experience it. And,
Mhm.
what better than the world of, television? And so I wanted to be a sports anchor.
Okay.
And I was told that once I graduated, I went to, apply for positions. And they were like, well, you're just too tall for a woman. And I was like, what?
Wait, 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 wait. How tall are you, Jazz? How tall
I'm
are you?
6 feet. And
Really?
yeah. And
That's too
so
tall. Mm.
well, the thing is, well, this is back in like the late 90s. And so, the anchors, even the women, there wasn't many women who were working in that arena, but
Yeah.
also the women who were working in TV were very short and petite. And I
Hmm.
just didn't fit that mold. So I was like, well, I wish they would have told me 4 years ago, you
When you were
know,
still at school.
right. And so then I thought about the military. I was a mom by this time. My oldest son, who's in the Air Force now, was 4. And I was like, okay, well, that didn't work out, but you can still find a way for degrees to work for you. So I was like, okay, what's my next hustle? What can I use my degree for
Hmm.
that can help me career rise? And I looked into the military, and it's like, hey, you can come in at this rank and you'll be eligible for X, Y, and Z. And I was like, you know what? I never thought about the military, but I am familiar with the Army from being around my aunt. And
Right.
so I ended up joining the Army. I first started out as a truck driver, which is 88 Mike, because that was the first thing they had smoking. It was like one of
Mhm.
those decisions where if I didn't go now, I wasn't gonna go because that's
Right.
where my mind was. So
Uh-huh.
television and radio broadcasting was an option, but it was one of those options that came around. So maybe 1 year or another year later, and I was like, "What do you have right now?" And it was like, do you have a driver's license?" I was like, "Yes." It's like, "Well, you can be a truck driver." I was like, "Sign me up."
I mean,
Yeah, and so I went in as a truck driver, and then while I was going through truck driving school, my drill sergeant was like, I saw your file, and I said, you have a degree. Have you looked into Army ROTC? And I was like, no, what's that? He said, it's an officer training program. He was like, you already have a degree. I've seen leadership potential in you. You should look into that when you get back, to your home state. And
mhm.
that's what I did. And so I did commission in the Army. And I left the military as a major, and I thoroughly enjoyed my military career because it gave me many opportunities to meet, to travel and to meet people that
Mhm.
I probably would have never met in my life.
Right.
And also, it gave me a better opportunity. Me and my oldest son, it was us just for a long time, gave us opportunities to travel, me to do some things for him and take some trips that, we probably would have never been able to do had I not had the career path. And I didn't try to skip over your question about asking about the princess and the pedophile. Um, but that book for me was more of a release from that
Mhm.
situation. And so like I no longer sell that book, but it was more of a release from the other situation. That was me closing, that chapter of my
Yeah.
life. So I don't talk much more about it, but I needed to get it out. And the best
Out.
way I thought to do was to write a book and to journal,
Mhm.
with it. You know, it was when I released that book, it was a very painful time for my mother, um, obviously. But I told her that people heal in different
In
ways,
different ways.
and we
Mhm.
have to respect the way that people choose to heal, even if it sheds some light on the not so happy times in our life and the not so happy times in our families. And we have repaired our relationship, since then. But um, we are often, held back from healing because we don't want to hurt someone else.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it's like, you've given that person the opportunity to heal and to gain closure and do what they needed to do, but
Mhm.
your healing may open up some old wounds for them. And it's just like, that's life.
That's awesome.
and so you just have to, you know, understand that if you take that route, what could potentially happen.
Mhm.
But also sometimes in life you have to stop living for other people. You have to live
Absolutely.
for yourself. So it's like,
Absolutely.
okay, you may be mad, you may be upset, but just like I was able to get through this, you'll find
Mhm.
your way of dealing with it and getting through with it, even if that means no longer talking to me. And that's fine because that's your choice. And I'll
Right.
respect that,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. My
Um,
my friend always says, Chris, she says, don't be attached to the outcome.
mhm.
And that's what I've learned over the years. Don't be attached to the outcome because we don't know what God has in store for other people. He sees what's going on ahead of us. We don't know what's happening. But while we're journeying through this life, we make decisions, we make choices, and we go through things. And it's just that's what life is about. And so, I applaud you about that and doing that. And so, I didn't want to cut you off if you were going to the next
Oh,
point,
that's
but
okay.
I did want to bring up, my background is journalism, and I love, obviously doing the magazine and different things, but my whole purpose for bringing this together is so that I can showcase people's lives. And it's my purpose to help other people develop their purpose and also to share their stories and their journeys. And I always think about that. Oh, bring them on in. Bring them on in. Bring them on in.
Jamal,
This is look. I tell you, it's laid back. Come on, Jamel. Look, we heard you.
come here. That's Mr. Craig's car. Remember he went and helped Daddy this morning? Oh. Say hello.
Well,
Hi.
hello. Hey,
This is my big
you,
old 10-year-old.
he's a 10-year-old. I have a 9-year-old. He'll be 10 next month, and he
But
would
he
do
will
the
be
same
11
thing.
next month. When is his
Oh,
birthday?
April 2nd.
April 18th.
Really,
Okay.
look, I didn't want to April Fool's baby, and I
I know.
told the
I'm glad
doctor, I
you
said,
didn't.
"Yep."
Okay.
I literally said, "Can we wait till after midnight to bring the baby?" And they were like, "Are you serious?" Yes.
Yes. I'm super
I'm serious.
serious.
There
Yeah.
you go. But so sweet, so sweet. I know what that's like
Stop,
juggling
Jamel.
children and families. What made you? Because I know you were interested in you're a filmmaker. So I guess
Yes.
what I want to know is how did that develop? How did that whole thing come about?
So, I did a documentary. Well, I was part of a documentary called "Serve Like a Girl" that followed an event that I created called Miss Vet in America. And
So
when Hollywood first came to me about that documentary and following my event, I first asked them, okay, well, why are you doing this? If you're
mhm,
looking to show a bunch of damsels in distress or women who need, saving or broken wing veterans, I was like, I'm not
yeah,
interested. So I told them, you can follow us in this journey with this event and these women that have served, but their stories have to be told uniquely from their standpoint, and you may
mhm,
not twist their stories and you may not coach their stories.
right.
And so the outcome of that movie was Served Like a Girl, and it was a very beautiful documentary that won some awards. I think we won an award at South by Southwest, and we won some other awards across the theater circuit. But through looking at Hollywood and how they did veteran movies and veteran documentaries, I noticed that there were not many filmmakers from female that were women veterans
Yeah.
that were telling the stories,
Mhm,
um, or were even entertained to tell a story, unless they were a war veteran or they were a man. And I
mhm,
was like, you know what, our stories have many parallels. Um, but again, being a male, the military being a male-dominated field, and when you're looking at the media, they're always showing the men rushing into combat and doing things like that.
right.
When I have friends who are women veterans who have been in combat, who are double leg amputees, single
Wow.
leg amputees, have PTSD, and etc. And so I also realized that not everyone was telling veteran stories using comedy and animation. A lot of
Mm,
the stories were like very sad or put us in a very, somber light. And so I said, you
mhm,
know what? There are so many stories that you can tell from a comedic standpoint. And also lots of adults watch animation. So
mhm,
I decided to do an animated movie called Discharge, that followed the lives of four veterans, one being female, but telling a story of how they are all four different people from four different walks of life that were
wow.
bonded through military service and also through the hardships they had as veterans.
Mhm,
And I did win some awards for that film as well. And I've written my second short film that focused on one of the stories from that movie. And I'll probably release next year, since COVID has been crazy and a lot of
yeah.
festivals haven't been happening. So I'm always a right time, right place kind of person, not like, let's just get it out there,
Mhm.
very
Mhm.
careful about planning. And so it's called The Sofa Bed, and that will be my next short film.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. What do you like about the creative process, or do you like the creative process? I know you want to tell the story, but what about that?
I love the creative process, especially my creative process, because me and my husband um, funded everything ourselves. And then we did
Oh
have
wow.
some, my second film, I did have an investor as one of my friends. And so, unfortunately, for some women who are in Hollywood or in the creative process, they are allowed to be like executive producers and things like that, which
Mhm.
basically means you wrote a check,
Right.
but not really directors and things like that.
Mhm.
So I had complete creative control,
Good.
which is a great thing. When people give you money, sometimes you're under their thumb.
Their thumb. Yep. Hmm.
And so I didn't want to be under anybody's thumb. And so I just saved up myself, and I had some friends and invest. And I was able to tell the story exactly how I wanted to with no one to answer to.
Hmm. Your truth. Your
Yeah.
truth. Absolutely. So, what's one main message that you want to get out to people, whether it be women, former Army veterans, or military veterans, or families, or mothers, children? What's one main message you want to get out,
My
if there is?
message is to be your authentic self.
Hmm.
Um, there were some times in my life when I thought I had to be a different person so people would like me, or people could relate to me. And I was like, that was exhausting trying to be something that I wasn't. And I said, you know what? You just need to be yourself, because you can still be the most perfect person, and someone's not going to like you just because, whether it be jealousy, your height, your skin tone, how good your
Hmm.
complexion is, what
Right.
you're doing, the moves you're making, the people you surround yourself with. So you're never
Right.
going to be able to be a people pleaser. So don't even try it.
Mm.
So please yourself.
Mhm.
Make sure when you get up in the morning, you look in the mirror, you see a person that you respect,
Mhm.
a person that you are honoring,
Right.
and a person that you are supporting. You always got to support yourself first before you can ask someone to support yourself. And
Mhm.
so I've been successful because I've been my most authentic self, and I haven't been or twisted to anybody's will. Even as a nonprofit leader, you're dependent upon donations, and there are people who have told me, well, if you just did this, or you acted like this, or whatever, or maybe don't bring up the fact that you're born and raised in the projects, or maybe don't mention that you're, and then I'm just like, for what?
Wow.
For money?
Really? Then that's
I'm
not
like,
your
no,
truth.
I'm not doing any of that.
No.
So if you don't want to write me a check because of that, then you are not really interested in the cause.
Mm.
In the first place, you were interested in trying to make me be something that I'm not, to, appeal to your audience and to appeal to whoever you deal with. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And we've been successful. I do have a board of directors. I have a very great executive director, who have supported me in my uniqueness and my authenticity, because that is what made me the person that I am and got me to the places where I needed to be. Um, and I tell people, sometimes it's rough to be who you are,
Mhm.
and sometimes people are not going to accept who you are. Those are not your people. Those
Nope.
people are not for you. So, just keep them moving. And also, you also have to continue to practice self care. Um,
Absolutely.
and take time for yourself. Um, Even if you're not a mom or your wife, sometimes we're tied to our jobs, or we're tied to something else. We really don't take the time for ourselves. I am not a religious person, but I am a very spiritual person. And so
Mhm.
I meditate on a daily basis. My son knows when I have my chi time, and
Uh-huh.
my husband knows who they are not to bother me. Um, and not just sit with myself, if it's 5, 10, 15, whatever, how much time I have that day, and I do self-reflection.
Mhm.
And when you asked me earlier, who am I? Those are the things that I ask myself on a daily basis. How do you feel? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you feeding yourself? Not just, with food. Are you feeding yourself intellectually? Are you feeding
Mhm.
yourself through your success? Are you feeding yourself through your, relationships and interactions? And sometimes we're not feeding ourselves. We are giving away a lot of ourselves, and at the end of the day, sometimes we don't have anything to give to ourselves. And so I
How
always
about
tell
that?
people to feed yourself first.
Right.
When you're little, they always say, make the place for the kids first, or make the place for your husband first. I make
Uh,
my own plate
for
first.
yourself. Hmm. Or you
you
won't
know
eat for a while.
exactly. And if I don't
Mhm.
take care of myself, and I can't take care of them,
Hmm.
anyways.
Right.
Um, and I
Absolutely.
tell you, you have to, I say daily affirmations, to
Mhm.
myself,
Mhm.
you are great, you are successful, you are worth so much more, you deserve everything that comes to you. And I tell people, regardless of what I believe in positive self-talk, you
Exactly.
know, if you can focus on a zit in your face and like, oh my
Mhm.
God, I wish that zit wasn't there. And okay, well, you don't have one right here, you don't have one right here. So let's focus on the place that the zit is not.
It's not
And
right.
like, oh my God, girl, look at your cheekbones,
Mhm.
look at your smile, look at your nose, look at your brow
Yeah.
game, focus on the things
Uh-huh.
that everybody has imperfections,
Absolutely.
period. But that's what makes you unique.
Yeah. Mhm.
And we as women, we always think people are looking at us. We always
Mhm.
think people are watching us and dressing us down. No, you're doing that to yourself.
Come on now.
A man could wear the same suit to work all week and just change his tie.
How about that?
Nobody's none the wiser. But us, we
Yeah.
wake up in the morning like, oh my God, did I wear this Wednesday and it's
Right.
Friday?
Right.
People are gonna know that I wore the same pair of black pants twice this week. Nobody ain't checking for you like that, sis. I
Right.
don't know why we are so, tied up about
Mhm.
appearance. So what if you did wear
Mhm.
that shirt
Who
twice in the
cares?
same week?
Right. Well, it kind of goes back to what you said when you were applying for that job where they said that you were too tall,
Mhm,
and and who's to say what the standard is for a woman? How tall she should be, how short she should be, what she should wear, what she should look like. That whole thing about our image. It's been
mhm.
put on us by society. So I agree. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you look good, you're fabulous. I like when you said you got eyebrow game. I got that. I love it. So I love it. I love it. Even before the show, I'm always like, okay, hair, check, check, check. Does this look right? Because it's always about appearances. Why, you look this way, you look that way. So I applaud you. Just how you celebrate you and celebrate life, and you affirm the good things and the beautiful things, and even not the not so good things about yourself. I used to I have a scar across here, and I hate to always show it, but then I'm like, I don't really care because it's a scar and it's still part of me. It doesn't change who I am as a person, and that's how I feel about women in general, and especially this month we're celebrating Women's
History.
Month, History Month. And so you have made history, my dear. You have made history and you are still making history. And so I applaud all your efforts and everything that you're doing. You're an inspiration. And I'm sure that you've heard all the accolades before from others, but you haven't heard them from me. So I just want you to know that I celebrate you and I thank you for spending your day with me and telling our audience a little bit about you. What would you say to the little girl that's watching and wondering, how can I be like Jas Boothe? How can I be that filmmaker? How can I celebrate, army life? Or how can I be that mom? What would you tell her?
I would say use me as an inspiration, but strive to be like yourself. Don't look at me and say, hey, how can I be Jas Boothe? Say, hey, how can I be Tina Miller or whatever your name may be? How can I be the best, version of myself? And it's
Hmm.
okay. Like I've been inspired by many people, as growing up in Chicago, Oprah was a staple in our
Hmm.
lives. I mean, she was a
Yeah.
staple in everybody's life, but she, got her come up in Chicago. And for that to come full circle for me to meet her, people always say, what was it like to meet Oprah? And I'm like, I want to have everyone ask Oprah, what would you like to meet Jas Boothe?
Come on now. Come on now. How about that? How about that?
you know
How
and I
about
think
that?
we need to stop lowering the expectations we have of ourselves. I have a friend named Nicole Malachowski. She was the first female Thunderbolt pilot, and I saw that she wrote on her Instagram page when she first started speaking that she went to her first event and they had created this cockpit on the stage, and she was like, oh my God, I hope that I'm able to live up to their expectation and rise to the occasion. I
Yeah.
was like, sis, you are the occasion.
Come on.
They have risen to you,
How
you
about
know
that?
so you just have
How
to go out
about that?
there and just execute it.
Mhm.
So we're always thinking that people are doing things, you know um for us. And I'm like,
Mhm.
no, you've already done the things you need to do for yourself. This is a celebration of you. Whenever someone asks me to speak and tell my story, that is a celebration of me. And they are
Mhm.
acknowledging me, who I am, what I've built, and me living in my authenticity and my truth. So when I show up to events, I'm not there like, oh my God, I hope I'm going to do my best. And you know what? I'm already there because I've already shown them that I am
Wow.
my best.
Wow.
And I'm already there because of the things that I have accomplished and the people that I have helped and what I have given back, to others. And so I don't feel that sense of intimidation or that sense of, am I going to work out? I've
Hmm.
already worked out. That's why I'm
Right.
here.
Right. Your track record speaks for itself.
And
Absolutely.
and also I think we as women, we're always getting up in whatever the catchy slogan is for the year, or the flavor is. And so the last was a seat at the last thing was a seat at the table. I want a seat at the
Mm,
table. And I told him, you know what, you could just be simply sitting in a chair that was empty. Just because you're at the table don't mean you matter. And so I said, I don't want to sit at the table. I prefer to stand,
come on now.
you know?
It's, well, I think it was Shirley Chisholm said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a chair. And
Yeah.
so bring your own chair. So yeah, absolutely. Bring a chair, stand, whatever the case. You're absolutely right. Um, there was one thing what's one, are you working on anything new? Another project? I know you talked about the sofa. Is there anything else new that you're working on for your business, personally? Uh-oh.
So I am working on something. I am working on a beauty brand,
Oh,
um, but not how you think. So I'm not
okay.
doing makeup, but I will just leave it at that and say I'm working on a beauty brand I'm looking to launch over the summer. Um, and it's called Agnia Awakening. Um,
Mm,
and the Agnia is one of your seven chakras. It's actually
oh,
your brow chakra
right. Okay.
that represents, intuition,
Mhm,
knowledge, intellect. And I think a lot
mhm,
of us need to reconnect with that,
mhm,
because a lot of us don't trust our gut instincts, and it's our gut and our instincts are always talking to us, but it comes from here, not from there. And
mhm,
so I'm building my business around, the support that I've gained from my personal spirituality,
mhm.
um, but also self care. To me, beauty means self care.
Mhm,
And not just, looking pretty or, putting on makeup, which I do, but you do it
mhm.
because you want to do it, not because you're trying to cover up an imperfection or
Right.
because you're trying to impress someone. Like I get up every
Mhm.
day trying to impress myself. And
Yep.
if it rubs off on somebody else, good. If my husband give me a compliment, that's great. If he don't, that's not gonna make me feel any less beautiful, or any less anything. And so I
Mhm.
just want women to get back into, loving themselves and seeing, beauty is also from the inside and not the outside. And so I'll be really excited when I'm able to do my launch and share more over the summer.
Yes. Well, good. Well, maybe you'll be able to come back and share with us on Tables and Tangerines again. Hopefully, you'll get to come back.
Sure will.
I would love to have you. So, yes. Any closing remarks before we go? I want to honor your time and I just thank you for being here. So, is there anything that you want to close us out with?
I just want to say to continue to love yourself, honor yourself first, live your most authentic life. And when you find your purpose, don't be afraid of it.
Hmm.
Um, I know sometimes we come into our purpose and we look at it as this big goal that we can't achieve because we may feel like we don't have enough money or we don't have enough um, notoriety. And I'm like, again, you have your voice, which is the sharpest and strongest tool in your arsenal. And also, if something is for you, the universe will provide everything else you need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Again, thank you guys for spending this time with us. We had Jas Boothe here, and we want you to don't forget to reach out and follow her on jazzbooth.com and learn more about her ministry, her business, Final Salute, finalsaluteinc.org, and all the things that she's doing and the films that she's coming about out with, and look for her summer beauty brand that she's coming out with. It's not a product, it's a brand. So look out for that. But we have so many things in store for you on upcoming shows. And I'm glad to have you be my guest here today, Jas. Thank you again. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for my background workers, Marisa Bloom Bluethorn. Thank you for working everything in the background. I appreciate it. Thank you to my audience and everybody that's been tuning in. I love you guys. Thank you. Until next time, see you on Tables and Tangerines.